We don't get an intro or an outro today, guys. Welcome to Free Speech Friday. I guess my outro and intro video is on a break as well. It's good to see you all. It's good to have you all in chat. Good to be back. Missed you all a lot. We're going to have a really good show tonight. We've got a lot lined up, a lot to talk about. A million things have happened, obviously, and we're not going to cover it all. We're going to focus on one particular thread about the ballroom. That's not a ballroom at all, and it's not about the ballroom. We'll talk conspiracies. We'll talk evidence. We'll talk shit. We'll do all the normal stuff, all the regular fun, and we'll probably do a kick after party at the end, I think. We'll get to more of that in just a minute. But first, to start the show off, I figured I would start with a clip from Candace's recent episode. Before we get into the actual topic, the actual meat of the matter, what's really going on out here, we're going to start off with a clip from Candace's recent show. I think I already have it queued up. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I for whatever it's worth, I entered the space of politics with a very real understanding of how fickle it all is. I felt completely that I was at God's mercy. I wanted to sort of keep my circle really small. As you guys know, my cousin Mia still works with me. She is the person who actually helped me upload my first video onto YouTube. She filmed me. If you can find that video on this channel. And as you know, she's still rolling with me today. She was the one I took with me to see Erica because of vibes. And so I feel like I went into politics just with the right attitude and not impressed by a lot of the things that other people were impressed by. You know, I knew the importance of family. And again, how quickly everything could be stripped away from you. All I wanted was my health. And I was just so grateful to be able to think again. So to Trump, there you go. To you directly, I guess it's important for you to know that you have no power over me and my life. I chose to share that picture. That's why you have it. That's why you could have somebody put that on an AI cover. I made a decision to share that with the public because it was the lowest moment of my life. And I do not want people digging through to find that and to try to embarrass me. I'm not embarrassed of it. I'm proud of who it made me into today. People get sick, okay? In fact, there are people who email us daily about their chronic illnesses and tell me how much this podcast helps them get through the day. People who are going through surgery, people who are going through cancer, and similarly are wearing bandanas and have no hair, who enjoy listening to this podcast. It gives them a laugh, and that's okay. Like, who cares what you look like? Okay, you have low moments, you get through them. And I will say that never, when I went through that, and to people who are sick and going through things, never could I have imagined that my lowest moment would one day become President Trump's lowest moment. I do feel like to Trump, he's just repeatedly humiliating himself over and over again. And he can continue to do that in front of the world. I will say real power never has to name itself. I am MAGA. I built MAGA. I am loved 100% by the people. Just look at these polls. It's like, come on, old boy. Who are you fooling? You know, you weren't even worth replying to until I could make time for it. You weren't even worth interrupting my holiday in Italy to address. Okay.
Huge shout out to everything Candace has been doing forever, always. But I play this clip because I was just watching it the other day and it hit me very hard because I am sick and I have been sick, and that's where I've been. I have a chronic health condition that is physical in nature. It's not mental in nature, but it came back with a serious vengeance in the last several months. And so I'm not going to get into the specifics of it. Internet doesn't need to know, but it, I just saw in the chat though, someone said dementia and that made me laugh. But yeah, amen, Candace. Yeah. When you don't have your health, you don't have anything, and health is all that matters. And there's nothing quite like that can humble you and give you perspective and bring you back around to what really matters. And Candace talks about how when she went through hard health, she had a bit of an awakening about her looks, about what matters with appearance, which you might say is sort of a feminine journey through the ego. And I get to have that journey through more of a masculine version of the ego. And when my health started to decline, my first reaction was, do you care more about this job and your fame and all the whatever the fuck this stuff is, or do you care more about health? And the answer is easy and obvious, and every time, health. Health is wealth. Health is everything. And so that's why I dropped off the face of the earth, to move, get into a better place where I can take good care of myself and take the steps to heal myself. So it's still ongoing. It'll be a long process. Be a lot of work. Yeah, you can hear Gigi squeaking, right? But no, I did not get the call. No, my SPLC funding did not dry up. It's still good. Still lots of SPLC money coming in every day. We're good. That's how Gigi's eating organic chicken every night. But that's where I've been. But now that I'm relocated and chilling and have diet and everything locked in, May 1st felt like a great time to come back and talk about secret underground bunkers. And this wild story that has evolved from a totally legit shooting, a totally real shooting that was not in any way staged or planned or false flagged or anything like that. Started, I mean, obviously the story started long before that, but it took a new interesting turn in light of this recent shooting. And a lot of really great journalists have been doing a lot of really great journalism about the ballroom and what is under the ballroom for quite some time. But the story escalates and the evidence becomes a little more clear in light of just the fact that this whole shooting thing would even happen, and how it happened, and how it was responded to by the controlled Zio slop alternative media, all the Trump shills, all of the establishment empire shills, and everything that's happened since. So we're going to start tonight's investigation, tonight's conversation, with sort of a reminder of what we all know. Going back through the first things first, going back through what happened, how it happened. We have a little more footage now and a little more, awareness of it. And then we're going to get into some of the stuff that we know for sure, that's wide open reported, that is not secret. And when you put all the pieces together, then you can conspiracy theorize pretty thoroughly. If you want to call it conspiracy theories, you can do that. If you want to call it journalism, you can do that. Personally, I'm a little fucking sick of journalism. I saw a tweet from our best friend, Nick Fuentes, a couple days ago, where he just tweeted, honestly, I'm really fucking sick of politics. And oh my God, Nick, I felt that tweet so hard, dude. I know we've had our disagreements. I know we will probably continue to have them. But oh my God, I felt that tweet so hard in my bones. So let's get into it. Let's get started with my reaction, my tweet about it, and the first place where we're going to start, so you can get a little sense of where we're going to go. Okay? April 26th, day after. I tweet out, they didn't go to all this trouble to build a ballroom. They went to all this trouble to build whatever they're putting underneath the ballroom. And we are about to let Mossad build Lord knows what underneath the White House. Trump making Clinton look like an amateur. Yeah, there. I said it. Sue me. What are you going to fucking do about it? Obviously, the reactions, from all of you folks was like, yeah, duh, no shit, we know. The reactions from the shills was predictable and lovely. But it's a great lead-in. It's a great lead on. Based on what evidence exactly? We'll get into that, Sharon. Thanks for asking. This is the dumbest, third worldist conspiraslop I've read from you in a while. Well, don't worry, Happy Feet. I will try to go harder. I'll try to do better. I'm sorry that I've not been producing enough high-quality conspiraslop for your liking. I'll try to do better. I promise. Schizomaxing. Also destroying all the goodwill and trust you had with people like me. Sorry, Anglo-Saxon. You can leave. Nobody cares. Are you seriously this dumb? I doubt it. More like you are controlled opposition. A president, especially one like Trump, can't even build a ballroom without Israel being involved? This is simply the most idiotic take I have heard on this subject. It's so stupid for so many reasons that if you do believe it, everything else you have ever said is suspect. Oh no. Source, I completely made this up. Yeah, sure, Philly. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I make everything up. I make everything I say up. Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's fucking talk about it. Though, by the way, this comment about the conspiracy slop, whatever his phrase was, and schizomaxing, I remembered. I should probably just put some fingers in front of my face. If you know about AI, you know. Okay. We are real. And we have lost some weight, but we're not cloned. We're not changed. Gigi is still Gigiing. And Ian is still Ianing. So I forgot to do that at the start. But anyways, I just thought that the shills had some questions. Like source, trust me, bro. So I've got some tabs. I pulled up some tabs. And I thought we would source it a little bit. We'll start at the dinner. At the White House Correspondents' Dinner. At the shooting. The shooting, right? Who exactly shot who? Not entirely clear. But we'll start at the shooting. And from there, we'll make some moves. Is Coach Colin in the chat, guys? Shout out to Coach Colin. Shout out to all the homies, too, by the way. A lot of homies checked in on me, messaged me, looked out for me, just made sure things were good. And it meant a lot. It always means a lot. I've got a lot of great friends in this industry, a lot of great people. It is very encouraging how these days, the alternative media space, full of a lot of shills, full of a lot of people that will take money over truth, that will sell their soul, that will sell their voice, that will sell anything. But there's a lot of people that are legit, that are good, that are regular folks that are just here to try to find the truth, to try to talk about it, to try to tell jokes, to try to have a good time, to try to be real people. And man, it's just wonderful to be surrounded by them and to have them looking out. So shout out to everybody that reached out. You know who you are. I appreciate you guys. So night one, let's just get a few clips to remind ourselves of what exactly happened. And obviously, the first conspiracy fueling event was Caroline Leavitt.
Ready to rumble. I will tell you, this speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to make a big deal of it. I don't really care if Caroline Leavitt knew in advance. Maybe. Could be. Not going to be able to prove it myself. Don't really care to, but it's a pretty funny coincidence. Just saying. The thing that grabbed my attention way more right away, that went out right away, and then immediately, got kind of covered up. They tried to sort of not air it, but it, obviously went viral. Was this clip from Fox News.
I was sitting next to Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened, and then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way,
This
especially
does
when you
happen.
have so many people attempting to...
This kind of thing just happens, like when people are just, about to say really weird, inconvenient things about the narrative. It just happens that sometimes the phone stops. Sometimes the line goes dead. It's 2026, but sometimes phones just don't work at Fox News. Funny how that works. That caught my eye because more and more, as literally everything is lies in the Zionist, world order, I stop looking at just like the evidence and the facts and what's in front of us, because often that's actually somewhat impossible to truly decode. Usually it's pretty obvious if you just kind of know what to look for, but it's hard to prove because it's all just cover-ups and lies and noise. And literally tomorrow there's going to be 3 new massive stories. And it's like, whatever. But often you can get a much faster and better understanding of what is and is not real and what the fuck is going on by looking at how the empire media responds to things. Just look at how the narrative builders are building narrative and what narrative they're squashing and promoting. And often that's a much faster way to figure out the shape of what's going on, in my mind. You're not necessarily going to get to like the proven specific truth, but you're probably going to get pretty close to the shape of what's happening. Lots of posts went out about how lax the security was at this dinner. This gal who was there, my best friend and I went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and we ended up leaving early because something felt off. It started the second we got there. Every event we've ever been to, especially at this level, there are layers of security. Bags checked, IDs checked, actual process. This time, nothing. We were just asked if we had tickets, said yes, and got waved through. No bag check, no real screening, no line, just thousands of people packed together being pushed through the doors as fast as possible. We've seen posts of the tickets, which had no barcode, no QR code. They were just essentially fancy pieces of paper. I could come up with a lot of theories as to why. If you want to prove how unsecure outside venues are, though, it wouldn't hurt to not secure an outside venue and then have something happen. So when something did happen, a lot of great citizen journalists immediately started reporting on it. Diligent Denizen was, as always, Diligent is always, diligently covering breaking stories like this, hosting spaces, posting all the updates. And we start to get these images of the shooter naked, face down on the floor with a space blanket on. And the very first thing that I notice in these photos on the day of the shooting that night is there's no fucking blood anywhere. And the reason why there's no blood anywhere, we know now, is because he wasn't shot. Okay? He wasn't shot. But like multiple shots, like 5 or 6 shots were fired. And we kind of have answers now about who fired the shots. It sounds like the official narrative that we're currently running with is that Homeboy fired 1 shotgun blast into the chest of an officer who was wearing a jacket, and so the officer turned out to be okay. And it sounds like the official narrative, I believe, is that all the other shots came from the officer who pulled out his gun, pointed it directly at his own teammates who were behind the suspect, running through at full speed. We'll get to it. And then started firing directly at his own squad mates. And we'll look at the video, and it sure looks like he shot another officer in the process. It looks like you can see it directly in the video. At the very least, he pointed a loaded gun directly at a friendly. And that's really bad. Really bad. You don't have to be very savvy with guns to know that that's really bad. You don't do that. It's literally like 2 of the 3 rules of guns. So, anyways, the important part here is that Mr. Cole here has a shotgun in his hands. He's running at full speed. He's apparently ready to shoot police officers to get through to where he's trying to go to kill the people he's trying to kill. But then he's taken down anonymously without being shot, wounded, injured, nothing. And we still don't have a story about it. Unless I've just missed it. Have you heard the story of the brave officer that took down the terrible shooter? Has he been paraded around the media yet telling the story of how he bravely dove at the gunman who was armed and risked his own life to take the shooter down? And let me tell you all about how brave I was. Has that happened? Because I'm genuinely asking, because I have not seen it. Right? So mysteriously, the deranged armed gunman just lies down on the ground and becomes captured. No shots. That's a little weird to me. A little weird. Then we get more evidence of the shooting in like 6 hours than we have in, 8 months of Charlie Kirk investigation. 6, 7 months, whatever it's been. Video of the shooter drops like within an hour. It looks like it was filmed with a potato. But even in the potato footage, we can pretty clearly see when it restarts here that this officer right here in the lower part of the frame, he's going to draw his gun and point it directly at this group of friendlies. And you can kind of see the flashes in this version. Then we have the higher quality version now that is not AI, allegedly. Right there. Boom. He is now pointing his gun at, the shooter and then strafing his buddies. And it wasn't super apparent until there was like AI enhanced versions. I think this is pulled from the AI enhanced version. But now we have the official, not AI enhanced version that is crystal clear, by the way. Crystal clear. I'm just going to go out on a limb and ask, are the security cameras on UVU this quality? Because this is crystal clear. And if the cameras on UVU were of this quality, maybe there wouldn't be so many conspiracy theories. But apparently not. It is also worth mentioning that all this footage is just being procured, like journalists are just on the ground next to an active shooter in an active crime scene, like 2 minutes after he's been apprehended, taking photos of the shooter and then texting them to Donald Trump so that he can put them out on Truth Social immediately. That's a little weird. That's not usually how crimes are solved. I don't think. But, we're just reliving the night a little bit to remind ourselves of what happened, what the narrative is, before we sort of get to how the narrative was handled and spun. And before we get to this other guy's tweet, I do just want to play this part here, where this officer clearly is firing his weapon in a triple strafing pattern. You can see the muzzle flashes. It's hard to tell exactly where it's pointing when it's being fired, but clearly the first shot is fired to the left of the group of people, and then the gun moves across these people. And that is not a thing you do when you are trained to use a firearm. Shame on you, bro. You should be fucking fired. Aside from that, when you watch the full version, look what happens up here. This dude is like down and crawling and stumbling and holding his body a little bit. Maybe he's fine. I don't know. It's not the point. It's not the point. I got a little hung up on it because it kind of looks like bro shot his friends. And yeah, we do see the gunman point the shotgun at an officer and fire. I think, sort of. We don't get to see who he hit. He didn't hit this guy because this guy just keeps on shooting. This is a shotgun at point blank range, right? So maybe he shot one of these two guys. Or rather this guy or this little gal. I suspect that this little gal would not have done too good if a shotgun hit her at point blank range. But who knows? Maybe they make really good vests for Secret Service. I don't know. Not an expert. All I know is that's weird. And I'm not the only one that thought that. Patrick L. Riley and several others. All right, I'll be that guy. In the room before the panic, we clearly hear 5 shots. The video Trump posted shows him run through. Agents drew guns. Cole Thomas Allen had a makeshift shotgun, not an automatic rifle. The shots were the agents. Agents shoot center mass. Something stopped the shooter. He is shown on the ground, chest and back exposed, center mass. Where did the agents shoot him? What stopped him? Where's the blood? Why is his supratrochlear vein not indicating that he is in any pain or distress? The video of Trump, Melania, and the magician shows the women reacting as if there's a shooter before Trump or others react, as if it was practiced. Is this another staged event? You know, not my exact personal noticings, but his own version of similar noticings of what the fuck is going on here, guys? This is a little weird. So it's all a little fishy, pretty much right off the bat. But then people clock in on the video a little bit more and realize that it's a lot more fishy and it's a lot weirder, and there should be more than one Secret Service agent definitely fired, assuming that it's not all a giant plot and the entire government shouldn't be fired and sent to Israel. Because in that video that the government gave us, literally the Secret Service agent with the dog is like hanging out and talking to the shooter the moment before he comes out of the door with a gun. Watch. That's our shooter with apparently like a shoulder bag, and the dog immediately clocks him. The dog is in there. He's like, fuck this guy. This guy's bad news. The dog cop is exchanging words with him right now. Shooter walks in, dog follows, dog cop is there. He's talking to him. You can see his mouth pixels moving. He's talking to him. So who knows what, is he holding the shotgun? Where is the shotgun? Is it still in the shoulder bag? You know, you might think, okay, maybe the dude is in a really unfortunate position and he's trying to achieve his evil mission, and the shotgun is in a bag on his back and he's tripping out, but it's in a bag. So the officer doesn't see the gun, obviously. So the officer turns away after the dog tries to clock him again, and immediately the dude has a gun out. So that officer sucks at his job, or his job is not what we're told, or something's going on. If that officer has a job still, If he still is going to work today, I wouldn't want to be protected by him. No, sir. No, that's very bad. Very, very bad. Aside from the fact that the metal detectors aren't set up, they're setting up the, it's so weird. It's really weird. Okay? It's really weird. Yeah, it's like he spawned in. That is correct, chat. It's like bro just spawned in. The enemies just spawned and they're immediately in there and it's go time. And there's no friendly fire because you're on easy mode. So, you know, bro's, he's new to the game. He just pulls out that pistol and just starts rocking it. Doesn't worry. Doesn't matter who you pointed at. You'll be fine. So, James, as always, James is always keeping us all informed. James has really taken over the mantle of the best short form news conspiracy, like news aggregator that ain't afraid to tell it like it is. Shout out James Lee always. He's the man.
All right, but none of this seems real, like at all. You've probably heard by now, a suspect armed with knives and guns tried to storm the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. The guy's name was Cole Allen, and he was very quickly neutralized by security. But then people online started to do a little bit of noticing. Pause to read. Yeah, I don't know about you, but it's starting to look like one big show, beginning with what Caroline Levitt said right before the start of the event.
It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
This, by the way, is Trump's first time attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner as president, and CNN ran this article a few hours before saying to expect the unexpected.
You remember how Butler was the first time they had ever live streamed a Trump rally? In all of their history? You remember that? Remember that time when they got that really good photo of Trump fight in front of the flag with the bloody ear? It worked out real good that time. But there were signs. Let's just say there were signs. Some of us, myself included, were maybe a little too naive to, really give the signs the noticing that they deserved. But there were signs. And we still don't have any answers, no interest. It's kind of weird that, bullheaded macho Donald Trump has no interest in finding out who tried to kill him that time. But, the first time he shows up at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, whoops, something bad happens. And, I can't help but think that there's no world where Trump actually wanted to give a speech that night anyways. And I can't help but think that if he'd actually had a night where he was going to have to give a speech, he probably wouldn't have showed up. Because it's not going too good in the world right now for Trump. He started a war that is currently polling lower than the Vietnam War at its worst, which is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. All of our military bases are blown up. All of our weapons over there have been kind of expended. They had a secret failed raid where they tried to steal the uranium and they got their shit kicked in and had to evacuate and pretend that they had some crazy successful pilot rescue where they just exploded like a whole secret mission's worth of airplanes. In case you don't remember. It's not going too good for Trump. And so I can't imagine that, the dinner where, the media kind of talks shit for fun was a place he wanted to be at. But tonight was different.
Within an hour of the incident, Trump tweets out a video of the shooter running through the event. Even though still, for some reason, we can't get any moving pictures of Tyler Robinson. Then it turns out the shooter, Cole Allen, worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Very interesting timing given all the UFO stories, so cue the conspiracy theorists on this one. And then there were the reactions, starting with Erica Kirk being Erica Kirk. I just want to go find you. I have to say, she looks very upset here, like way more upset than when her husband Then we got Dana White just loving this whole thing.
It started getting noisy. Tables getting flipped over, guys running in with guns, and they were screaming, "Get down!" I didn't get down. It was fucking awesome. I literally took every minute of it in, and it was a pretty crazy, unique experience.
Totally normal reaction to.
Do you think they tip them all off beforehand? Do you think they kind of like, there's a rumor that goes around of like, hey, something's going to happen, but like, don't worry. It's all good, bro. Like, do you think they kind of just like, do you think there's like, you know, a whisper campaign that's just kind of quietly being like, hey, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to happen. Because in my limited experience in DC and in politics and around these people, it would not surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if Dana White was just like, what's the best way for me to get the most Dana Whitey image out of my response to this? And like, I haven't seen footage of Dana White doing or not doing what he said he was doing. We have seen footage of other men at the event doing or not doing what they said they were doing, like Mr. Kash Patel, but we're not going to get into all that bullshit.
What is supposedly a presidential assassination attempt. But the most ridiculous thing has to be maybe this coordinated influencer campaign saying this is why Trump needs a new ballroom.
I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it.
We officially live in the dumbest.
Yeah. So James summarized a lot of what we've already talked about, and then he led into what we're about to talk about. And I would mention that the White House ballroom would actually not have stopped this shooter. This would have still happened. I mean, he would have had to get a different type of access, but when the access is a bunch of dudes that don't know how to use their guns, that haven't set up the metal detectors yet, and there's no ticket, and anyone can just walk up and run through. Oh, and the dudes with dogs will befriend you while you're holding a shotgun right before you do run through with the shotgun. It's honestly the putting it in the White House or in Fort Knox or in Bibi Netanyahu's basement, like none of that would have actually stopped the circumstances of what happened here. That just kind of occurred to me, but that's not the point. None of this is the point. I thought that I put all of the time traveling Pepe Frog stuff on the other window. We'll get to the time traveling Pepe Frog thing in just a minute. Just a minute. Calm down. So yes, it is true that he did work at NASA at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. If you're following the missing scientist story, several of them, not all of them, are associated with that. Who knows? It's a little weird. This video has surfaced of him designing wheelchair stuff.
Tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this...
And that's cool and all. It's like cool. He's like engineering shit, whatever. He's just being a good leftist, you know, trying to help out disabled people and stuff or whatever back in 2017. But then if you actually watched the full segment like this lady did. Cool. Thanks, community notes. Apparently it's not Usha Vance. Yeah, fair. This lady's like, hey, wait, Usha Vance is in this fucking video with the dude. But we'll let it be. I'll trust the community note. Because none of this is the point. We're just reminding ourselves of what happened. And one thing that happened is apparently his Instagram had a casual photo of him throwing the peace sign, but wearing an IDF sweatshirt. I haven't really seen anyone that I trust personally verify from having gone to his Instagram account, which is now wiped. So I don't know. I don't know how to quantify that. I don't doubt it. I don't believe it. I don't believe fucking anything anymore. That's the problem. What are we going to do about it? But at least Matt Walsh is convinced. He posted a super snobby post about it all because Matt is so clever and so smart. He says, I'm officially convinced it was a hoax. The Trump administration recruited a leftist Kamala Harris voting Trump hater to participate in a staged assassination that would include the shooter getting shot. He wasn't shot. Shot at. And then locked in federal prison for the rest of his life. The Kamala Harris voter agreed to this plan that works against his political and personal interests because he's just like a really generous guy. Meanwhile, the Trump administration, despite dastardly planning multiple assassination hoaxes, decided to keep their patsy alive and a permanent liability to them, rather than just killing him like they could have easily done. They did this because they also are really strangely generous in a very odd and specific way. So in summary, we have a plot where all parties involved are working against their own interests with no real discernible benefit to any of them. There is no evidence of this plan, and it doesn't even make any intuitive sense, and the motives for everyone are unclear, if not insane. But still, I believe it because I'm a very smart person. Oof. I actually didn't realize that was how he ended it because that's funny. Matt, just because you aren't capable of thinking in greater conceptual depth or thinking of plans more complex than like a game of checkers doesn't mean that other people can't play chess. It doesn't mean that other people can't think more critically than you. And the same is true for me. I'm not that smart, but it's easy enough for me to realize, Matt, that not all patsies know that they are patsies. Obviously. Not all patsies know what they are being manipulated into doing. And the internet makes that easier than ever. And most people that theorize about patsies in this day and age are not theorizing that the person was like, oh yeah, I'll be a patsy, you pay me money, and then I'll go and throw my life away. That's not what anyone's ever alleging, bro. Duh. Usually when people are saying someone is a patsy, what they're saying is that if you find an unstable person on the internet, a person who either has delusions or maybe schizophrenia, or is maybe super isolated, depressed, maybe super down some weird rabbit hole, or maybe they have some, like, I don't know, maybe they got some weird fucking drugs they can pump into you. Maybe they have weird EMF waves. Maybe I don't know what the fuck they might have. Maybe they just have a really hot chick with big tits that can just come into your life and slowly manipulate you into thinking certain ways, doing certain things, push you to do a thing. It would not be super hard for the CIA to find a schizo, someone who's mentally unstable, get into their life, surround their digital footprint, and just kind of maybe just monitor them. Just see how they're, just be like, hey, this Lance Twiggs guy is pretty fucking unstable. Maybe we should just keep tabs on him. Maybe we should keep track of his internet browsing history and see if he ever looks at anything he shouldn't. See if he ever does anything he shouldn't. Maybe if he ever did something he shouldn't, we could have a recording of that, and then we would probably have some leverage over him to inspire him to do something that he wouldn't normally do. Or maybe he's so unstable that you could actually just create a fake friend on a Discord that is faceless and then just become friends with him and then encourage and support his thinking becoming more and more extremified in whatever direction you want. Not hard to do. I could do it. You could do it. Well, you probably couldn't do it, Matt, because you're not apparently all that creative or smart. But just to clear it up, Matt, you're arguing against a thing that no one's arguing because, I mean, to be fair, we should probably move on because speaking of people working against their own interests, you're the white Christian nationalist that works for the Jews. Literally Ben Shapiro's lapdog on a leash, working against your own interests every single day. They hate you. They hate your country. They hate your religion. And they're actively working to destroy it. And I know, Ben seems like a really nice guy to you. He's not, Matt. He's not. So, anyways, I don't need to get mean at Matt anymore. But I'm just kind of bored of beating around the bush. We all see what's going on with the Daily Wire and with Ben, and I guess with Matt. And apparently Matt is not smart enough to see it for himself. So let's talk about the weird time traveling frog shit, which is kind of neither here nor there. Okay. Cameras on vacation today. Having trouble? All right. How you doing, Gigi? Maybe we can have a quick Gigi break. Gigi, you want to come up? Yeah, come on up. Come. Yeah, come on. Come stand up. Come. Yeah. So Gigi, Gigi's doing good. Gigi's as healthy as ever. She's a little bored because we're not getting her the activity she needs, really. But we are getting her lots of organic chicken. Gigi, go get your toy. Where's your toy? Go get it. So now she can go and kill her pickle a little bit more. Okay, so you've probably seen this thread. And I'm not really going to add to it unless you're not very smart, and that's fine. That's fine if you're not super smart. I'm not either. Maybe I'm totally wrong here. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Okay, but here's the facts. A Twitter account somehow surfaced. Still not really clear on how it was surfaced. That's a little weird in the first place. Not really sure how you surfaced this. I mean, I'm sure must have been someone searching for the name of the shooter, and they found this post from this account called Henry Martinez. Henry Ma 795618993. Henry Martinez also published at NASA in 2014, the very same year that Cole Allen, the White House correspondent dinner shooter, interned there. Again, being very diligent and turning up a lot of shit. Obviously, we don't really have a way to prove that Frog on Twitter Henry is the same Henry Martinez as Diligent turned up having worked at NASA. I'm honestly not really even sure how the fuck Diligent found this LinkedIn profile, or rather book. He's probably using AI. He's probably scraping with AI, doing a good job. But anyways, just to clarify, we find out that the name of the shooter and the name of a weird Pepe Frog account that has only posted one time in its history and posted the name of the shooter. Those two names both were working at NASA in the same year. It's weird. It's like the odds of that happening don't exist. They don't exist. All the different names in the universe, all the different places they could be, all the different posts you could make. People have been explaining it by this theory of like, oh, this is a typical thing where people make a whole bunch of Twitter accounts and then they post a bunch of predictions. And then whenever any of them come true, they delete all the other posts. And then they're like, see, I called it. That doesn't work. You can see how many posts have been deleted. You can see if they've ever changed their name. You can see that doesn't work. That doesn't work. The odds just are not. The odds are not in your favor. Okay. So obviously it must be like some time traveling frog, because then MJ Truth Ultra, whose account I love, by the way, I don't know if they hate me still. He's in the Q spaces. He's a real conspiracy diehard. Love him to death. He's got a really fun account. And he puts together some crazy shit, and he discovers that this Pepe account, this Henry Martinez account, its banner, it's really weird, tripping like 5 hits deep banner, is pulled from a website called Time Machine. So the internet starts running like fucking crazy with this frog conspiracy theory. It's apparently missing the Grok button, like Grok explained this to me, which is apparently reserved for government accounts. I have a different theory, maybe. And then people start, it goes further. You can go further if you want. The numbers add up to a number. You can go further. Okay. Here's the way I see it. This is not the point of the video. I just figured we had to address it. Here's the way I see it. It could be time traveling frogs or people or aliens. It could be time travelers trying to kill Trump, time travelers trying to stop killing Trump. It could be time travelers. Time travelers could exist. I don't know shit about it. I wouldn't be able to prove it one way or another. I would need more than a frog posting on Twitter to make me feel confident in the theory. Okay? I would. I feel confident. Here's my look at it. I feel confident that time travel exists because if any person, if any being in any civilization of any species, anywhere in the universe, ever in all of time is capable of inventing time travel, then for all intents and purposes, time travel exists everywhere at all times in every place in the universe. Think about it. Right? Because time and space at that point are the same thing. So if you can time travel, you can probably space travel. And that means that if you invent it 1 billion years from now, then we probably have it now too. Okay, so time travel, I think, is almost certainly a thing. Probably. That does not mean that this frog is time traveling. Because honestly, it could easily just be like some dude at Twitter. Right? Like it could just be a dude at Twitter. Like, am I wrong? Isn't the simplest explanation here that there's just a troll that works at Twitter? And I don't know, but maybe the Grok button is missing for government accounts, and maybe it's also missing for accounts that were set up in manipulative ways by trolls that work at Twitter that have access to the back end that don't want you to be able to ask Grok about how that who exactly set this account up. That's it. Honestly, like, I'm all down with time travel, and I love talking about time travel theories, if you can't tell from the way I just talked about it. But in this case, I think it's probably more likely that this is just a troll at Twitter. But it's still weird. It's still weird. So I don't know what to make of it. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. It's not the point. It's irrelevant. Honestly, it kind of feels like a distraction. Because that's obvious. Like, we're gonna get to the actual. That's not the point. Because the point is not a ballroom. This is not about a ballroom. This has never been about a ballroom. But it took less than an hour. It took no time at all. It was immediate that it became all about the ballroom. It's a shooting, right? It's not even in the ball. It's a shooting at a random hotel. And suddenly, all of the MAGA simps, all of the Zyobot influencers, they all get the same idea all at once. All of them. And they all start posting versions of, we need to build the ballroom. And just to clarify, they start posting it before Trump says it. Later that night, Trump said the same thing. But a lot of these accounts were posting that line before Trump said it. And we all know why. We'll get to why in just a second. Ashley St. Clair will explain it. But I did just want to bring up Anna Escobar's quote of this about how, just when it's not staged, when it's not staged, it's not so much fight, fight, fight. It's get me out of here. Although, to be fair, he was spry. He was ready to run. I mean, he was ready to fucking book it. He would not be moving so fast these days. That is a younger Trump, for sure. Trump fell down on his way out of the room this time, but he had a whole long explanation for Fox News about how they told him to go. It's honestly, I'm retiring from journalism in case maybe that wasn't apparent. I'm retiring from journalism. I'm not a journalist. Don't call me a journalist. I'm done being a journalist. Because if part of my job is having to listen to Donald Trump speak about things, I'm just not. That's not my job. I'm not going to do it. Because listening to Trump just spew word salad that is completely disconnected from reality about just completely made up things, it's bad for your brain. I think it's bad for your brain to listen to adult human beings speak about another reality or just speak about nothing as though it was real. I think it's like slop. It's like AI slop coming straight out of the mouth of the president of the United States. It's just not even connected to anything. He's just rambling in basically every case. We already mentioned this. Yes, Marissa Hanson, you're exactly right. Mainstream media never aired a Trump rally until Butler, and Trump has never attended a White House Correspondents' Dinner during his presidency until this shooting. And so the reactions across the board were suspicious. Matt Walsh, this is where maybe you'd get out a pad, and a pencil or a pen, because the people that have been right about what's going on all along, over and over and over and over, like, I don't know, maybe about Epstein working for Israel, for example, maybe about your boss, for example, about a lot of things. They're noticing some stuff here that you are clearly not noticing. And like I said earlier, it's hard to know the exact shape of what exactly is going on. I don't fucking know how they might have recruited this patsy. I have no idea. I don't know if he was a willing patsy, an unwilling patsy. I don't know if he was even like a patsy. He's not really a pat. I mean, I guess you'd call him a patsy. I have no idea what happened. Maybe it was all real. Maybe it was a super convenient coincidence. Maybe they were just surveilling him and it was his own idea to do it. And they were like, well, that's awfully convenient. Let's clear the way. Maybe he's like some secret Jewish super soldier. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea how it happened. All I know is that none of it makes sense. None of what we were shown lines up. The story doesn't add up. And all of the reactions and responses are a clearly defined pre-scripted narrative. Starting with them all snickering about having almost been shot. Okay? So we're all snickering about how we were almost shot. It's all very funny. It's all great. And yeah, I mean, you could take a still frame out of anywhere, but it's a little funny that it's just so funny. This is where it gets really fucking weird though. Matt, Matt, I'll stop picking on you. I'll stop picking on you, Matt. You've got enough problems in your life as it is. I'm trying to think of it. I'm not going to stop picking on Matt. Matt, you're a Catholic. Wake the fuck up, bro. But we've got Andrew Kolvit. We've got Cernovich. Bummer. I was hoping for Cernovich to be above this shit. Yeah, you know. Libs of TikTok, Jack Posobiec, and Wokeness, Wall Street Mav, Sean Farish, I've seen before, Randy Fat Slob Slime. Fine. Terrible. Brylan Hollyhand. You know. The whole gamut. And that's just a small smattering of the many, 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 talking fish faces that all simultaneously were like, this is why you need the ballroom. Which, if you think hard about it, you can imagine that maybe it's possible that a couple of influencers might have done the math of like, oh my gosh, a shooting at an event that Trump was at. Even though it's, technically hosted by a media organization, is not literally hosted by the White House, but you could see how they could make the leap to like, oh my gosh, why was it at this unsecured hotel? It should have been at the White House proper. That would have been so much more secure. Maybe one or two might have come up with that. But it's just not the kind of thing that hundreds of retarded Israel shills all come up with all at once and all post within the same 30-minute span right before the president makes a speech about that exact topic. And then all the congressmen get in line and everybody gets in line and the whole thing just strings right together. And Todd Blanche signs a legal demand, so to speak. It's all drafted up, all convenient. But fortunately, if you actually pay attention, you know that these things are coordinated. And if you don't know, you should know. It's important for you to know. If you use Twitter, if you use the internet, you need to know that messaging is coordinated. And sometimes what messaging being looking coordinated is me seeing Coach Colin posting something funny and being like, that's a fucking great point, Colin. I'm going to repost that. Or I'm going to quote that. Or I'm going to be like, shout out to that idea. That's a good idea. I'm with it. Like when I post release the Epstein files, it's not a hard stretch to figure out why someone else might be like, yeah, I agree. Release the Epstein files. Right? But when they all start posting about how soda and SNAP benefits or whatever the fuck it was, and it's like, why are we even talking about this, let alone why are all of you at the exact same time? It's because none of them give it's because it's coordinated. Okay. None of them came up with the ballroom thing. That's that obviously. And you can learn about how they do this from Elon Musk's baby mama herself, who I gotta say, man, like 84 years ago, whatever the number, however long ago it was that we were all watching the Elon Musk baby drama unfold, which is a literal lifetime ago. I did not foresee Ashley St. Clair doing anything substantial or beneficial in the world ever. I didn't know her personally. I just figured if this is what you're doing with yourself right now, if you're like if you're sort of actively like sting operationing Elon Musk, like targeting him to get his artificial insemination baby sperm juice so that you can have a fatherless child with an autistic demon like Elon Musk, that's weird, but whatever. I'm not going to hate on her for it right now. Because she's crushing it. She's sharing important truth.
So last week, I told you guys that all of MAGA is paid and they coordinate their messaging in lockstep via group chat.
And it's important to note, she says last week, because she actually made a viral video, like a Twitter video and a TikTok about how they do this a week before this. And she was giving other examples of how they do this and showing other text message thread examples. And then this happens and she's like, see what I told you?
And what do you know? All of these people came to the conclusion that after they saw what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, their first thought was all independently, Trump needs his ballroom. The statistical likelihood of this happening in a vacuum, if we are to stipulate that these people are not coordinated, the statistical likelihood of this happening, that they all came to the same conclusion, not probable, okay? I think it's also important to note that one of the main group chats in which they coordinate this messaging is literally called Fight, Fight, Fight after the...
I'll just scroll up so you can see it. She was in it. She knows all about it. And it's like, honestly, it's not complicated. Okay? I'm in this industry. I've watched the onboarding process. It goes like this. Young guy starts talking online and for whatever reason gets some views. Not a lot of views, but some views. Young guy thinks, oh gosh, I'm good at this. I could make a living at this. Keeps making videos. Young guy gets invited on a podcast, like maybe Tim Pool, for example. Young guy starts doing the podcasting circuit, starts getting called and invited to events, and he feels so important. He's meeting important people. It's like really crazy. Getting lots of views, not making a ton of money yet, but starting to feel important. Young guy gets invited to Turning Point USA. At Turning Point USA, everyone's schmoozing and they're going to parties and they're like, oh, it's so good to meet you. Oh, I love your work. You've been doing so good. And all these people that Young Guy has looked up to for so long, like Ben Shapiro, oh my gosh, he's just so amazing. And they're just overwhelmed with all the stardom and all the opportunity and all these successful influencers that are inviting them, probably to hotel rooms to do who knows what, but we won't talk about that part. And so, they just make friends. And then those friends invite them to do other things, podcasts and parties and, raves where James O'Keefe is DJing and everyone's dressed as all these things. And I'm literally, this is what happens. And I went to them. Everybody in the industry goes to them. I did it once and it was more than enough. And if you're, young and naive and have never been to a party before and have never met anyone or are, you know, impressionable enough to be starstruck and to think that this is how you make it and to think that this is what matters in the world. Again, hearkening back to Candace's opener. If you think that this is what matters, if you think that fame is what matters, if that's the point, it's really easy to just be swayed into being like, oh my fucking God, I am so important. And then you're in a group chat with all these super important people. Oh man. And then it's not like you're taking money to send out propaganda, right? You're just all coordinating with your friends, right? But the thing is, you don't know who started that group chat, and you kind of know that if you don't play ball, you aren't in the friend group. You kind of know that if you speak out or ask Benny, like, what's up with the gay swinging thing, or whatever it is you want to talk about that's not really kosher with the kosher clan, then you're probably going to get kicked out of the group chat. But obviously, none of these homies are kicked out of the group chat because they love being in the group chat, because that's what they live for. Because to them, that is success. That's the club, and they love being in it. And it's called Access, and Access journalism is a tale as old as time. And it is the bread and butter of the political journalism scene and of the CPACs and, you know, the APACs and all of the PACs, all of the TPUSAs and whatever else is. That's how it works. And Ashley St. Clair was in the club and is now obviously cracking it wide open and talking about it. And it is what it is. And, you know, to be fair, I'm in group chats with other influencers. Like, I got a group chat with some of the homies that make YouTube videos. But we mostly just talk shit. We don't really coordinate messaging. And sometimes, you know, homies will talk about like what video they made and how much, like how retarded Ben Shapiro is. And maybe, you know, if you wanted to, you could be like, I'll make a video. But I don't. And that's not the point of that, because we started ourselves. It's like 4 of us. Or there's another one where I'm in a group chat with other people that do work in content creation, but you have to be careful about these things. You have to think, like, what is the influence from this vector? And I think that a lot of these people just don't think a whole lot. Matt? Right, Matt? Because if you don't think a whole lot about the system that you're a part of, it's easy to pretend that, like, hey, these are just all my friends and they're just regular people. We're all just having a good time, having access to the White House and having access to the politicians and shilling for the American empire, for the military-industrial complex, for the wars. We're just all friends, just doing what friends do, right? And so don't come after my friends, bro. We're just regular people, right? Right, bro? Matt, you work at this company. You work with them every day. You're just all friends. Just ignore how he really feels about you and your religion, how he really treats you and your religion. Right, Matt? So it's easy to understand how people that don't think very hard would just not even exactly realize what it is they're doing in these group chats. Honestly, I think a lot of them, like, I bet that Brylan Hollyhand has no fucking clue what's going on. I bet Brylan Hollyhand is just like, when's the next time I'm getting railed? I fucking love it. I'm joking, by the way. So, you know, I'm sure there's a spectrum of like direct nefariousness going on here. I'm sure that some of them understand exactly how they're coordinating these things. And I'm sure that other ones aren't even thoughtful enough to realize that they're parroting paid propaganda. They're parroting narratives, lines directly from the largest empire the world has ever known, and trying to call themselves journalists.
On Trump's life in Butler. Okay, and this has the official Trump War Room, members of the administration, including James Blair, and all your favorite MAGA influencers. And I would log on and show you more of these messages, but I can't log on to Twitter because they're suing me for $75,000.
Oh, okay then. So, I got a little off the rails there. I guess we're warming back up. We're getting back into the swing of things. But yeah, that's how political influence works. And if you have like 20 brain cells, it's pretty easy to figure out who's in the club and who's not. And then there's some, notorious fence sitters that might not be technically like in the club, but they don't want to be out of the club either. So they want to be like a rebel, and they don't really want to take their beanie off, but like they don't really like have any of it's a little awkward when you're wearing it while you're shaking hands with the president, and you don't really know what success means to you anymore because you didn't get into this to be a shill. You're supposed to be a rebel skateboarder, but like now you are a shill, but you're like, it's very complicated sometimes. There's a lot of identity crisis in the political commentary space. It's all pretty gay, basically. So, is the ballroom somehow the third temple? This push for the ballroom is fucking odd. It's super weird, right? Third temple? Yeah, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, and then Senator Rand Paul. Shame on you. Fucking shame on you. You bring great shame to your father, Rand. You bring great shame to your family and to your name and to your whole family's legacy. Shame on you. You fucking wall kisser. That aside, we'll probably come back to this. This is where I start to suspect that there is a different pitch that has been given to those in the know, to the actual political club, like to the Congress people and to the cabinet and to the intel community and to, the people that need to know why we're actually going to build the ballroom. The bipartisan members of Congress that need to fucking vote on this bill to kill this lawsuit that is being very problematic that we'll get into a little bit. Because you need bipartisan Congress to fucking kill that. And I suspect that there's a different cell. Congress doesn't exactly need the fake shooting slop cell. Because there is a very legitimate national security, like continuity of government, American executive branch argument for this. It's not actually that complicated to make. And the fact that they aren't just making it plain and straight is maybe a little suspicious, and we'll get into it in a little bit. Clint, always with the logical takes, with the straight up takes. Clint, always loving Clint's takes. Hate to say it, but this full court influencer press to build the ballroom has me convinced that it is some vital necessity to the intelligence community. Whatever the real reason is, it is not what we're being told. Bingo. Stu Peters, a ballroom is absolutely not a matter of national security, unless there's something about this particular ballroom that we don't know. Yes, except Stu. I'm sure that Stu knows by now. He might have even known then when he posted this tweet. Because remember, when people tweet, they're not posting the epitome of their knowledge, thoughts, and beliefs. They're tweeting. But for the purpose of utilizing this tweet as a segue, a lot of people actually knew months ago, years ago, they could have told you what this is all about. It's actually not super hard to put together. But I think that the person that has put it together better than anyone so far is Dre from the Dre dossier. And we're going to get to some of her work about it in just a second. But first, a little bit of groundwork here. So this is what the ballroom actually is all about. And this is what it actually is it's not a ballroom. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the emergency presidential suite of underground shelters underneath the ballroom. And it's about to become a lot more than just a bomb shelter. Okay? There's been a bomb shelter. Actually, I had a Wikipedia open about it. Yeah, there's a Wikipedia page for it. The PEOC, the Presidential Emergency Operations Center. It's been around for a long time. Okay? It was built in it was remodeled after World War II. The bunker itself was originally built during World War II to protect the president. And famously, actually, we all know that during September 11th, Dick Cheney and a couple of the wives, a couple of the senior staff members were actually moved into this bunker underneath the White House, underneath the East Wing, to protect them from the Islamic terrorists that nobody saw coming. Oy vey. That's cute. They just needed to make sure that Dick was safe in the basket while Donald Rumsfeld patrolled through the wreckage of the Pentagon looking for anything he could tie to Saddam Hussein so they could hit Saddam. I'm getting distracted on a tangent, though. So, the ballroom underneath will house the most advanced secure military bunker complex system in world history, to include medical facilities, a hospital, biodefense system. Its features missile resistance and blast-proof structures, top secret military applications to protect from drone swarms, hypersonic threats, and other modern attacks. These details were exposed in the lawsuit. It dwarfs the White House. The ballroom, the opulent shed that sits on top, was halted by court order, not the bunker system. So why the sudden urgency? So this post actually has more depth than we need right now, because it's bringing up an important point that has been puzzling me for quite some time now. Actually, let me, it's starting to get dark outside. Is that going to be too much? No, that'll do the trick. So, we'll come back to this question, this puzzle. The court order that halted construction, that Trump is all up in arms about, right? That's the reason why we need to build the ballroom now. The court order that halted it explicitly did not halt construction on the underground structure, on the whole bunker military installation top secret complex. That's all still greenlit. That is not stopped one bit. That's allowed to continue. Never stopped. Just the ballroom up above stopped officially. Okay. And I think I understand why the urgency and why that's still a huge problem and why we need this ball. I think I understand, but it was puzzling me for a long time, and it is still maybe an open question. But you might be like, "Oh, source, trust me, bro, source." You might be the retard that does that, because you don't read the news. You don't know the news. You don't understand that the source is Trump himself. Where's my there's Webb. Okay.
President Trump saying the planned White House ballroom is ahead of schedule and under budget. The president showing new renderings of the project yesterday and providing some security details about the structure too.
We have drone-proof roofs, ceilings, everything's drone-proof and bulletproof. And unfortunately, we're living in an age where that's a good thing. Now, the military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed.
Because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed. I don't like it. It's stupid. It's stupid. So yeah, source Philly, I completely made this up by listening to the President of the United States of America describe it. As for the Mossad allegations, we'll talk about that shit in just a minute. The Leah Files, she does great. Why am I not following her? She does great work. She's a gangster. What does she do? She comes from a auditing CEOs and corporate executives background. So she's been doing some really great analysis of Erica Kirk, everyone's favorite CEO, Erica Kirk. So, not that we needed more evidence of what's going on below the ballroom with the data center cooling contract and the SCIF data center supply chain donator list, but that is the foundational layer. The operating layer of what the data center is going to do, well, that's where the real concern is. So she's actually jumping ahead. You're jumping ahead here. Leah understands more than whatever that Siegel account shill understands. So I think we need Dre to fill us in before we jump all the way into the fact that there's SCIFs and cooling contracts and all of this, because if you don't understand the fact that it's a data center, none of that really makes sense. So shout out to Sam for shouting out Dre. And actually, Dre Dre Dossier's stuff has been going around on Twitter, and you should follow her on Twitter as well at the Dre Dossier. Oh, I don't follow her on Twitter yet. So you should follow the Dre Dossier on Twitter. But I'll tell you a secret. Twitter don't pay you shit. Okay? Twitter does not pay you jack shit. Unless you're like in the weird club or whatever. I'm not making jokes about it. Twitter doesn't pay you shit. YouTube is how creators support themselves. And more, all the other platforms like TikTok used to help creators support themselves. Doesn't anymore. It just bans you and censors you. So YouTube is how creators support themselves. It's the best way. It pays you the best ad revenue. And it just has the most consistent, safe, longevity. You can build a career there. And so when you see a creator like Dre, and maybe you see her whole video on X, that's great. You should go watch it on YouTube, because that is how you actually support her as a creator. That is how you actually help her pay her bills and do great journalism like this. And we are going to watch some of her journal. Are we ready for this? Or is there more that we need to get to here? Yeah, I think we're ready for Dre to break it all down. Dre has done some of the best work out of anybody on this. And months ago, this video is from 4 months ago. Okay. This is not new. This is not something that's like some big mystery that no one could solve. Certainly Dre does incredible work putting all these pieces together, but pieces of this have been floating around for quite some time. But you know, if you're Matt Walsh, it's like, it's just too much to fucking handle in the fucking brain, dude. It's just a lot to handle, bro. I understand. I'm tired. I understand. It is a lot, but try to keep up. We got a couple clips, and I'll probably jump in a little.
Look, Trump is not building a ballroom. This much, I feel like, is obvious. I made a video about this a few weeks ago, giving a thesis of what I think is actually being built, and that video got taken down on my TikTok after about 8 million views, so I re-uploaded it here. And if you haven't seen that one yet, I recommend going over and watching that, because it gives you a good basis for where we're starting out from. But I wanted to follow up on my theory, okay? Because in the original video, while I had some solid architectural analysis from Andrew Kerr, it was mostly based off of like a gut instinct, you know, in my own pattern recognition. And since then, I have been digging deep, scouring the web across databases and looking for records, and I have come back with actual receipts, like some actual verifiable public record receipts. And now my theory is stronger than ever, okay? Because I know that Trump is not building a ballroom. He's building an underground data center, and I have the receipts now to prove it. But really quick, if you want to read all of the sources and the documentation for yourself from this video, then they're all going to be linked at the bottom of my Substack.
Go support her. Support creatives. Support creators. Support the work they do. Give them follows. Give them likes. All that stuff. So that's just a little intro. And can I just shout out real quick? It's so refreshing to find independent journalists that have an attention span these days. That you can tell when you watch Dre do her work that she is not caught up in the slop river. She is not caught up in which way the wind blows, who said what on Twitter, all this shit, which, you know, a lot of us, myself included, are guilty of getting just sucked away from what we're trying to do by. And I think that's kind of the point. And it's so refreshing to find people that can follow a train of thought still. It's incredibly rare in this slopified world. Baron Coleman comes to mind as a journalist that can follow a train of thought and stick with it. Candace, there's a lot of people that do it. And it's just really notable in Dre's style, and it's refreshing. It's super refreshing. So thanks for being like a sane, rational person, Dre. It's refreshing in this media landscape these days. 6 minutes in, we're going to jump in to number 6 here.
November 4th, something pretty wild happened. Trump fired his ballroom architect. His name was James McCreary, and he was this classical architect who designs these beautiful churches and historic buildings, designing buildings like the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Supreme Court gift shop. I mean, say what you will about the guy, but he's got range. But alas, Trump replaced him with a different architect, a guy by the name of Shalom Baranes. When I say I went to look this man up and my jaw dropped to the floor, so a little background on him. After 9/11, when the Pentagon needed to be rebuilt and hardened against future attacks, they hired Shalom Baranes. Yeah, this man designed the...
And yes, his early life checks out, and no, that's not the point here. But yes, we will talk a lot about Israel in just a little bit.
Post 9/11 hardening project for the Pentagon, the secure wedges, the SCIFs, the bomb-resistant architecture. This was all Shalom. And SCIFs, by the way, are sensitive compartment information facilities. They have electromagnetically shielded rooms for classified intelligence work and are built to survive missile attacks. And it's important you know what SCIFs are because this comes back into play a little later on. And his portfolio doesn't stop there. It gets a lot more intense with DHS headquarters, Treasury building modernization, the GSA headquarters secure facility, the CISA cybersecurity headquarters that, yes, Clark Construction also built. Yeah, so these guys have rendezvous.
He also has a strong portfolio of rebuilding synagogues, including some donated free synagogue restoration. But, you know, whatever. And then let's jump in. Let's jump in to here.
I think we should go back to the underground data centers in Jerusalem, because understanding why Israel built those might tell us why Trump is building one here, allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion. So,
you know, I'm gonna rewind us to a bit more of the intro here.
Curious information, but I'm sure that it'll come in handy later. And later in handy did it come, because fast forward a few months and I'm reading about Trump's new ballroom announcement, and that pattern recognition side of my brain starts tingling. Why, you ask? Well, let me just read the specs out loud to you, okay? Because Oracle's underground facilities in Jerusalem were 90,000 square feet and cost around $319 million. Trump's ballroom is about 90,000 square feet and $300 million and climbing. Curious. And then on January 21st, 2025, you have Trump's first full day in office, and Larry Ellison is standing next to him and Sam Altman, and they're giving this White House announcement about Project Stargate. Now, I'm not kidding when I say I could write an entire dissertation on January 21st, because they gave us so much information in that announcement that I feel like, quite frankly, many of us just glazed over. And I've broken it down ad nauseum in other videos and over on my Substack, but the short version is this. Project Stargate is this $500 billion AI infrastructure initiative for government operations, defense intelligence, and consolidating federal data across agencies. Because all of these AI initiatives Trump and his team keep launching need infrastructure. They need servers, power, cooling, and security. And then you look over to who's donating to Trump's ballroom project, right? And the coincidences just keep stacking up on one another. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, if this is actually what's happening, right? If this is actually what's being built, then there's got to be some evidence somewhere. Like, you can't just build an underground data center without leaving any paper trail. And so I start digging, right? Because the first thing I want to know is who's actually building this thing. So their lead contractor.
So then she thoroughly runs through a whole bunch of paper trail. And I highly recommend that you go watch the video for yourself and catch that paper trail. And by the way, just to give us a little visual to remind us all of what she's referring to with this Project Stargate, let's remember a million years ago, back on day one of this majestic presidency, back when RFK was going to get rid of the jabs and save the health and make the food not poison and put Fauci in prison and close the loopholes and all the stuff. And Trump was going to drain the swamp and put them all in prison and release the Epstein files, and Cash was going to arrest the pedophiles. And there was all this. It was bullshit, obviously. And yeah, I am ashamed to have fallen for a lot of it too. And maybe, any one of the signs were there. And day one was a day when Trump decided on day one to hype up this $500 billion AI super project. And the way that Larry Ellison, everyone's least favorite Israeli piece of shit, decided to try to sell this to the world was with a vaccines pitch, with a customizable vaccines pitch. It just was all very nonsensical and out of touch and super uncalled for and very revealing about what has been happening ever since. So if you don't remember, that is what she's referring to. And it's all coming full circle now, as things tend to do. Okay. Jumping back forwards.
And hired the Pentagon guy. Okay, so what does any of this actually mean? Well,
Is her
I
volume high
think we
enough,
should
guys?
go back to the
Is her
underground
volume
data
good?
centers in Jerusalem, because understanding why Israel built those might tell us why Trump is building one here, allegedly, supposedly, in my opinion. So Israel built those facilities for something called Project Nimbus, which is their government cloud infrastructure. And we've seen what this looks like in practice, right? I mean, the AI system that Israel's using in Gaza, the targeting systems, the surveillance infrastructure, the operational decision making, and that all runs on this underground data center network.
Let's give a little more color to what she just said. Let's not glaze over that. She's not like trying to cover it up. I just think we should pause and give a little more color to what she just said. Israel's Nimbus project, its gigantic underground data center that Oracle helped them build, that's helping run all of their military AI. Let's remember what their military AI is doing. Project Blue Wolf, or whatever they call it. They have multiple. They have a giant database where they have every Palestinian in the West Bank and in Gaza. I think they probably have different databases for the two. Not entirely clear. They have them all tracked. They have everything they know about them, all their info, all their movements. They have cameras set up all over the West Bank, constantly surveilling, watching them in their homes, watching them outside their homes, in public streets, in private places, everywhere they go, tracking their movements as they move through checkpoints, all of it. All of that is recorded in a database. It's constantly monitored and used for whatever they want. Whether that is arresting them for no reason, whether that's beating them, whether that's restricting their travel, taking their jobs, taking their property, taking their homes, whatever you want. Take it to Gaza, and they just kill them at will. They'll snipe children, they snipe women, they snipe, they don't care. They'll bomb you, they'll double tap you, they'll triple tap you, they'll burn your homes, they'll rape you, they'll YouTube, FYI, I said cook crepes is what I just said. I'm getting a little carried away here. Let's remember what Israel does with their AI, okay? And then let's remember that Larry Ellison, who she's talking about, Larry Ellison of Oracle, Trump's best friend who's helping roll out Project Stargate. Larry Ellison, the owner of Oracle, the second or third richest man in the world because of all that money, the top donor to Israel, the IDF, with all that money, the owner of the island right across from the Lahaina wildfires, Larry Ellison. Do I need to remind us about what he said about privacy after 9/11? That Larry Ellison? He is the one that helps Israel built for Israel this data center that is managing their mass killing of Palestinians, their mass surveillance, their literal digital gulag of the Browns. Okay? That is what Israel is doing with their data center. That's what Larry Ellison is doing with that data center. Okay? So when Trump winds up with this great plan to build a data center with almost the exact same specs, the same width and diameter, or all, same cost, same footprint, similar depth, similar everything, you got to wonder who is talking to Trump about all these great ideas. Who, because Trump didn't come up with the idea himself. Let's be real. Trump is barely even in this world anymore. Trump doesn't know about data centers. He doesn't know what they do, how to build them, why to build them. He doesn't know how many brown people you can kill in a day when you have a data center, or how helpful it is for killing the Browns. Trump doesn't know those things, okay? But he's surrounded by people that do know about them. And you have to imagine that one of them told him, because someone came up with the idea to build the thing. Okay. And Dre and several other researchers have all independently shown through their own research that we have massive power infrastructure contracting and work being done right at the East Wing. We have massive water infrastructure work being done. We have all of the contractors that specialize in specifically data center type work that have built classified data centers. All of the pieces, you can watch Dre's whole video about it. You can do more research about it. We might get into some of mine about it in a bit. It's very clear that they're building a giant data center down there, not just a bomb shelter and bunker. They are replicating Israel's underground infrastructure underneath the White House. And you got to wonder who gave those ideas to Trump. It was probably not, some Christian patriot like Tucker Carlson, for example. It was probably one of the Israeli pieces of shit that is currently actively involved in how well it's working over in Israel with all the projects that they're using theirs for. So just keep that in mind. Where the inspiration came from, who the inspiration came from, as we get a little deeper into this.
I mean, we're talking full AI takeover, military operations, intelligence gathering, government AI information systems like banking, critical infrastructure controls, everything that keeps the country running. And they put it 9 stories underground because they needed it to survive, not just survive a power outage or a cyber attack, but to survive a war. I mean, they needed it to survive missile strikes and keep running no matter what happens above the ground. Because when you have your entire government running on AI systems, that is now the brain of your country, and you have to protect the brain of your country with a thick skull. That's what data sovereignty looks like. That's continuity of government, and that's what AI warfare infrastructure actually looks like. And then I'm looking at Project Stargate, announced on January 21st, 2025, Trump's first full day in office, and Larry Ellison is going on and on about this $500 billion AI infrastructure that's going to save the government and cure cancer. But all of these grandiose ideas surrounding AI, all of that needs a home. And that's why I think it has to be at the White House specifically, because when infrastructure is a part of the executive office of the president, then it has to be classified, protected, exempt from oversight, and the president has to have direct access to it. And lest we forget, the East Wing sits directly above the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the PEOC bunker. It's 5 stories deep, staffed 24/7 by military offices. And by demolishing the entire East Wing, they removed every structure blocking access to that bunker. And now they can expand it and go deeper or integrate new infrastructure if they'd like. And because it's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, executive privilege covers all of it. I mean, think about it. The president controls what gets disclosed and what doesn't. I mean, this is what the government running on AI, with all of that power consolidated under executive control in a facility that can survive anything and Congress can't audit, looks like. And look, I'm sure they'll build a ballroom on top. They'll host state dinners and take photos with world leaders in gowns and tuxedos, and maybe it'll even look fabulous. But don't kid yourself about what this was actually built for, because the ballroom isn't the project. The ballroom is the lid.
Yes. So let's hone in on something real quick. The executive office and the executive privilege involved in building it underneath the White House would exempt it all from congressional oversight, from any oversight whatsoever. That is concerning from Dre's perspective, which is much more balanced and biased than mine, at least the way that I've seen her put it out on the internet so far. Being just the journalistic, kind of liberal, I think, kind of concern of who's overseeing this, who's paying for it. We're paying for it, by the way. Is this legal? What's the purpose of this? What's it going to be used for? Surveillance of Americans, mass illegal surveillance of Americans, all sorts of legitimate concerns in that domain of like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? I have significantly greater concerns that I would argue are significantly more serious, honestly. Unpopular opinion, but I could be convinced that there's a legitimate argument for this construction to be done in some form. Like, it's a very legitimate thing to have a bunker underneath the White House. That's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with protecting the president of the United States. That's good, right? Totally good to have a military complex underneath the White House with everything you would ever need to survive a war. That's great. That makes perfect sense, okay? It's even could be understandable to have some sort of data center type situation under there. You could maybe convince me. I don't think so, but maybe. That's not necessarily the biggest concern in the world to me, though. When you have a government that constantly lies to you, that protects gigantic pedophile blackmail rings, that starts wars they swore they wouldn't, and then bombs schoolgirls and pretends they didn't, when that's your government, yeah, no, there's no fucking way that I trust them with data center type, mass surveillance type, evil, totalitarian dictatorship type stuff. That's not, they're not going to convince me to support that in this context. But if America was actually American and we actually had a constitutional republic with like actual grown-ass men with morals and values actually running the country, if we lived in a real world with a real government, I could be convinced to let something like that happen. It wouldn't bother me so much. Because there's nothing wrong with the executive branch being hardened, strengthened, protected, etc. That's not what's concerning me. That's not what's concerning Dre either. Dre is obviously, I assume, concerned by the corruption, the graft, the digital mass surveillance implications, the what the fuck is this going to be used for? Why does it need to be done in secret? And why are we all paying for it with no oversight? All of those are great concerns. But my concern is far more pressing national security. We're in big fucking trouble. We are in big fucking trouble. And let's put some of the pieces together here. Okay. Donald Trump is the first Jewish president of the United States of America. I'm tired of I'm tired of people dancing around the issue. He's obviously surrounded by a bunch of Israeli assets. He's obviously been threatened or blackmailed by Israel multiple times. He's either terrified or in bed with or blackmailed by whatever it is. He obviously has thrown his entire family legacy away to support this thing. He obviously has started a gigantic war that is destroying the American empire, that has burned our American infrastructure in the Middle East to the ground, that has tanked the global economy. He is throwing everything away to support the Greater Israel Project and Israel. His entire donor base is basically Israeli and Zionist shills now. There's really like, if you need more evidence than your own fucking eyeballs to figure that out at this point, leave. Just leave the channel, okay? Leave the channel. I don't care to try to convince people anymore of that base layer of reality. If you can't figure it out, go find another place to hang out. So if that man, Donald Trump, surrounded by all of those Israeli advisors like Jared Kushner and Howard Lutnick and Miriam Adelson and his daddy, Bibi himself, for example, among myriad others. If he's surrounded by these people and someone is telling him about how great Israel's data center thing is going and how this underground system and all this stuff, whoever came up with this idea and then got it into Trump's little orange head, do you think it was an America First person? Or do you think it might have been a Zionist? Just do a little basic math. How many not Zionists are even in his circle to even have a conversation with him? Right? So the way my math checks out, it was a Zionist, probably an Israeli one, probably one deeply involved in Israel's tech and military infrastructure systems with knowledge of what's going on over there, is probably the ones that put this in his brain in the first place. And it's not hard. It would not be a hard thing to convince him of. That'd be easy. Like, you want to be a badass in the digital age? You need a fucking super AI government, military. It's like not even a hard thing to figure out, right? So they enact this project in secret at first. It was all a secret at first. And then the lawsuit happens. It comes out that actually they are building a lot more than just a ballroom when they're doing this whole thing. It all starts to come out in these lawsuits, and Trump gets super pissed. And they start to admit that, like, yeah, we're building a ballroom, and yeah, we are also building a bunch of secret underground military stuff, and it's classified. Okay, it's classified. They have not yet disclosed for themselves that it's a bunch of data centers too. They're just saying it's classified military stuff. But all the journalists have put together enough pieces by now that it's fucking a data center. And one of the, there's lots of ways that you can put that together for yourself. But one of the ways that you can kind of put 2 and 2 together, if you have at least a little bit of brain cells, is look at the donors list. The donors list is a who's who of not just data center and tech companies, also construction and military and all sorts of stuff. It's not ballroom people, that's for sure. It's Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Palantir, Microsoft, NVIDIA, HP, Micron Technology, Booz Allen Hamilton, T-Mobile, and Comcast. They're all big donors to the ballroom. The defense industry, Lockheed Martin. I just learned today that Caterpillar is Israel's #1 supplier of heavy equipment. That was great to know. It's a bunch of crypto companies, and then it's a bunch of wealthy private donors like the Adelson Family Foundation and Stephen A. Schwartzman, founder of Blackstone, the Lutnick family, the Perlmutter family, right? Okay. So, let's just say we don't know, but we know that they're building a data center underneath there. And they're building the data center to house the architecture of the American digital gulag. Okay? I don't think that any of you, like me, are going to agree that that's a good thing. I don't think any of us want to live in the digital gulag. We don't want the digital mass surveillance. We don't want Palantir spying on us all the time. We don't want them compiling massive fucking files on every American with everything we've ever done, said, smelled, touched, tasted. I don't think most people understand, with AI coming the way it is, just how much you are exposed. Every traffic camera, every scanner, every touchpad. And that's just the stuff that exists today. Just wait until glass can see you, and wait until Wi-Fi can trace you and read your heartbeat. Oh, wait, that already works. Just wait. All the technology that's coming to track and sense and surveil and record you and put it all into a nice database where then AI can analyze it all. And let's just say don't get out of line. Let's just say that don't fucking get out of line, bud. Because it will not go so well. It won't go so well. Okay. And they'll have a whole explanation for why we have to do it. It's for safety. It's for security. It's for terrorism. It's for whatever it is. Oh my gosh, the cyber pandemic that happened was so catastrophic. The only solution is a digital ID so we know who's on the internet. Oh my gosh, the AI hacking cyber pandemic no regular citizens allowed to use AI anymore. It's government regulated now. You can't use your own AIs. It's too dangerous for regular people to have such vast power in their hands. Whatever it is, okay? It's not good. I don't think I need to convince any of you of that. That's not even my number one concern. We are just warming up. I think we're 2 hours into this. Here is my concern. Do I have a visual aid here? I think I do have a bit of a visual aid. It's a lot of sources. Okay. I just want to... Boom. Okay. We'll get to the visual aid in a second. I want to drink water. How are we doing, guys? It's been a while. I think I'm remembering how to do this job relatively well. I think it's coming back. I wasn't really sure if we'd hit a roll tonight. But I just came up for air. We've been going for 2 hours, and I don't exactly know what I've said yet. But hopefully it's all been kosher. So here's my concern. And I'm honestly, I might make a more concrete video that sort of puts the sources all together. But in this right now, I actually would rather frame this as this is just a theory. This is just a concern. This is not me. I am not claiming that this is happening or has happened. I don't have proof of this. That's not the point. The point is not proof. And at the end, if you still don't understand why, I'll explain it. Let's just, for the sake of argument, assume that the collective independent journalism space is correct. And we are building not just a secret military compound underneath the White House, but also a data center situation, okay? That is going to control the AI infrastructure of the future of American government, warfare, banking, and everything, okay? Because it is under executive privilege, there's no oversight. It's not overseen by Congress. No one can audit it. No one knows. No one can see. There's no record that we can't access, okay? It's all completely secret, all within the executive branch. The executive branch is currently run by a man that actively covered up a multi-decades-long Israeli pedophile blackmail ring. Okay? We all know that it's an Israeli pedophile blackmail ring. And we all know that they've covered it up. There's no one to arrest, no one to look into. Not even Howard Lutnick, who is literally a donor to this fucking ballroom. Not a handler to Trump at all, just a donor to the ballroom. Oh yeah, and neighbors and good buds with old Jeff. Although he lied about it. But we'll get more into the Epstein stuff another day. Okay, just reminding us. The executive officer in right now, the chief executive of the United States, is the man covering up that whole situation. He's the man that burned his own legacy to the ground to go start Israel's war for them. He's the man that let the entire U.S. military base presence in the Middle East get bombed to oblivion, probably never to be returned, just so that Israel could have this war. Destroying the entire global economy over throwing this war for Israel. Also, his daughter is married to a literal demon, Jared Kushner. That is the man in charge of the executive branch. And so that is the man that oversees all of the oversight over this project right now. And no one else can double check it. The idea probably came from the psycho-Zionist tech military bros in his orbit, like Larry Ellison, for example, like Palantir, for example, like maybe from Bibi himself. I don't know. We know that they're building something, but we don't know the subcontractors list. All private, all classified. We don't know the specs of what's being built. All classified. We don't know what's getting put in. All classified. Okay? And you're never going to know. And no one's ever going to know. Congress isn't going to know. No one's going to know. But they're going to build it. And once they build it, it's concrete and wire and fiber, and it's done. Okay? And it's not that hard to imagine a world where they openly and intentionally interlink it with Israel. That would actually be quite a logical thing to do. Oracle's already got one in Israel. And we're the greatest allies ever. And obviously we need great communication with our greatest ally. And so it is entirely conceivable that they would actually openly, willingly, and knowingly bake a direct line to Israel into the infrastructure that they are building. And we would never know. And if they were to do that, it could never be undone. Have you ever heard of the Promise software? It was one of the first computer programs ever made. And it was revolutionary. It was made by this really, really fucking smart American. And he was a computer programmer that realized that computers could help law enforcement by databasing all the criminal and court archives of crimes and networking them so that if a dude commits a crime over there, this court over here can know about it, and everyone can kind of know that like, hey, this guy is like, here, this dude committed this crime over here. He's still a criminal over there. Kind of a long line to a digital Big Brother today. But what happened with the Promise software is the government stepped in, stole it from this private citizen that had made it, a bunch of lawfare, sketchy bullshit, stole it. And then the intelligence agencies repackaged it. And Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, was deeply involved in actually taking over the project and getting a back door put in for Israel. And when they reprogrammed this software and repackaged it, Robert Maxwell oversaw the process of inserting a digital backdoor so that way when they gave it out to all their allied countries, to everybody, like, hey, the digital revolution is here. Now you can use computers to keep track of all your law enforcement information in your country, in your police departments, in your court systems. Israel had a backdoor in to see what was going on in everyone's computer systems. And it's one of the original, most important stories about what Israel is most fucking famous for doing, which is producing backdoored and hacked and bugged and compromised software systems that allow them to weasel their way in to your tech infrastructure. That's Israel's number one skill in this world. That's what Unit 8200 is all about. That's what Israel's entire tech industry is all about. And they do it through private corporations that are not explicitly parts of the Jewish government, the Israeli government, but are instead just run by like Israelis out there doing their own thing. And in fact, Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein helped found several companies that do this. Carbine 911 comes to mind. Paragon comes to mind, that hacked Italy. Well, it was located in Italy while it was hacking everybody. That is what Israel does. In the intel world, that's what they're known for. And if you do any amount of reading about the intelligence world, it's not hard to find out. Okay? Long history of it. Infosys, ACOM, I think. I actually think I have a list. Amdocs, Carbine 911, the NSO Group, and Pegasus. So, in one scenario, it's very understandable that Trump would be talked into actually just letting them build a direct line to Israel. like a phone to your buddy. So you could talk to Bibi whenever you want. That would actually, I could believe that they would actually talk this administration into thinking that was an acceptable idea to just build in at the base. We're the greatest allies ever. And we're going to build the Greater Israel Project. And you want to be a part of it. We're going to be the center of global trade. Obviously, we're always going to be best friends. So we'll just have if our AI brain could talk to your AI brain. That's like how me and my buddies, like my team, like I've got my own AI agent that I'm building that has all this stuff that like helped me build this dossier, build this app. I've got all this. And you know, sometimes I have it talk to like my developers AI over at his place so that we can work together on like working on a cool new feature for Webb or something like that. But it's a little different when you're building a hard line in to the basement of the fucking White House, right? Right? Okay. And then, that might be happening and we would never know. And they wouldn't tell us. And we don't have any way to verify it. And all that you have to go on is speculation of, do you think Trump sucks that much Israeli, or not? Because from where I'm sitting, there's basically nothing he won't do for them. Nothing at all. But then there's also the other obvious angle. Oracle is the one probably doing this. Almost certainly. Palantir is very likely, almost certainly, being integrated directly in. Both of those companies are run by extremely Zionist Jewish billionaires. Well, I don't think Alex Karp is a billionaire. He's poor. He's one of the poors. He only has, I'm sure tens or hundreds of millions. But you get what I'm saying? They're both run by overtly, militantly, disgustingly Zionist people that are also Jewish. That actively have dedicated their lives to the Israeli cause, to the Zionist cause. Have actively spoken multiple times about how down with the genocide they are, how down with the killing of Palestinians, how down with the whole worldview they are. It is not complicated to understand a situation where any little thing, bugs in the walls, sensors in the concrete, sensors in the fiber optics, anything. You could backdoor this system quite easily if you have a wide open door to Israeli tech firms or subcontractors or anything like that. And it's no big deal because they're our greatest ally. And Trump literally has their massive schlong inside of him most nights anyways. So what's the big deal, right? Well, the big deal is once that's in the concrete or the fiber optics or any piece of this building, it's the literal fucking White House. Okay? This makes Monica Lewinsky look like an amateur. That's just a science fair project. All right? This is the Large Hadron Collider of America is compromised, and you cannot undo it if that is what's happening. You can never undo it. You'd have to destroy the entire White House and pull up the entire ground. You'd have to destroy the entire bunker and just forget about it. Start over fresh. Okay? Now let's remind ourselves, that's just a theory. I obviously don't have any proof because it's all classified. Not even Congress people would know whether or not that's happening because it's all classified. That's the problem. No one knows. And so from where I'm sitting, it looks like there's probably going to be a lot of Israelis involved in this project. And you would be retarded if you'd think they wouldn't bug it. Go ask anyone in the intel communities. You could start with John Kiriakou for some stories about how Israelis are famous for fucking bugging everything, for trying to hack and get into and backdoor everything, right? And so it is a national security threat of the highest level to let the president do this. It is unacceptable. It is treasonous to have our government going along with this without some level of security to say you cannot work on the AI infrastructure that is going to run the digital mass surveillance of American citizens in perpetuity for the rest of our lives on your children, your children's children. That cannot, that architecture, A, is unconstitutional and should be fucking burned to the ground, but B, cannot be even remotely touched, even smelled, even imagined from a mile away by a member of a foreign group like a Zionist or an Israeli. You know, the one group in the world most famous for bugging things. Okay? That is my concern. Because if it happens, we are entering a digital gulag era where the Zionist project has a digital, maybe even physical, backdoor directly into the basement of the White House. And there's nothing any future president could ever do about it. It makes whatever it is they do timeless, permanent. Okay? And so, to a skeptic now, maybe Matt Walsh is watching this clip, and Matt Walsh is out there thinking, wow, what a Jew hater. First of all, they're not real Jews, okay? Think Larry Ellison is a religious Jew? He is something. But furthermore, doesn't matter. I don't care if they're Jewish or not. If they're Zionist in any form, they shouldn't be anywhere near this fucking thing, because the definition of a Zionist is that you support another nation, and you should not be working on the critical infrastructure underneath our White House, especially when you support any other foreign nation, especially when that other foreign nation is the one that's fucking famous for bugging and tapping and hacking things. And they've done it to us multiple times. Okay? Period. And so, obviously, I'm not 100% certain that that will or has happened. Can't be. No one knows. Am I 50% sure that it will happen? That that's the plan? Maybe. I think if I had to ballpark it, I think that there is maybe like a 20 to 70% chance that this is the whole point. This is the whole plan. And that it's going to happen. But here's the thing. Here's the fucking thing. Okay? Let me take this thing off the screen. Here's the thing. 1% chance is too much. Think about it. If you're building the AI infrastructure of the future of American digital mass surveillance of American citizens, which is already illegal, and China had a 1% chance of hacking that system at ground level and having a backdoor into it forever, you would do anything in your power to mitigate that 1% chance. Anything. Because 1% is too great of a chance that a foreign nation gets a backdoor into that system. Because if anyone gets a backdoor into that system, oh boy, are we in fucking trouble. Because now you have not only built a digital gulag that is unconstitutional, illegal, and demonic to mass surveil and control your citizenry in the land of the free, but you have also then just taken the keys and handed them to a foreign nation. So, you can come to your own conclusion on how likely or unlikely you think this scenario is. But if you think it's not a potential scenario here, you're fucking retarded. And you should probably read some books. And the fact that it is even a potential scenario is super dark and super sketchy. And honestly, I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, aside from stopping this ballroom. And that brings us back to the ballroom and to the original question. The original, weird, what's going on here? they never halted the underground construction by law. They only halted the ballroom. So what gives about the push, right? The immediate push, the urgency. We've got to build the ballroom. Why would they fake a shooting, probably, to mass propagandize us to build the ballroom? Right? It's possible that some of it is about the law, and Dre is going to explain that to us in just a second here. It's also possible that, I mean, it's certain that you can't build a secret underground facility with skiffs and all this shit with data centers. You can't build that inside of a giant open pit. China can see. Everyone can see into the pit. Okay. So you actually need the lid on top of the construction to even do the construction, if that makes sense. It took me a few minutes, like, to put that together. But you need the lid, not just for security after it's all built when there's people in it, but you actually need the lid to, like, cover up what's being done underneath a little bit as well. I mean, you can build other lids, but aside from potentially, I mean, I'm not even going into the potential, like, wiring between of, like, hey, I know a country that loves to put cameras in fucking places where things happen. But other than that, I think the most complete, like, the best answer, the reason why it needs to be built now, has to do with legal precedent and the fact that the whole project is at risk, actually. It's possible it could be stopped. Doubt it, but it's possible. Because right now, actually, it's in jeopardy. In serious jeopardy. So let me cue it up. 9:37. And I think this is going to get us pretty close to putting a bow on the whole situation.
Okay, now I want to take a minute and back up and explain what this lawsuit that I keep bringing up actually is. Because if you don't know what it's about, then the rest of this probably won't make any sense.
The military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed.
So, the National Trust for Historic Preservation is a nonprofit that does the preservation of historic American buildings. And when the Trump administration announced last
I'm actually going to take a quick break real quick, and I'll be right back, but Dre will explain.
summer that they were going to demolish the East Wing of the White House and build a ballroom on top of it, the National Trust sued. But they did not sue to save the East Wing as a historic building. No. They sued because of how the project was being paid for. And that's where this appropriations clause I was talking about comes in, because there's a clause in the United States Constitution that is called the Appropriations Clause, and it's part of Article 1. And what it says in plain terms is that the president cannot spend public money on whatever he wants. Congress controls the purse. Full stop. Now, if the president wanted to spend public money on a major construction project, Congress would have to vote on it first. That is how it's worked since the beginning, since the founding fathers had put this whole thing together. If we all just would take a minute and read it, that would be great. And Trump did not, in fact, ask Congress to vote on the ballroom. He did instead claim that he was paying for it with private donations from companies and individuals, none of it with taxpayer money involved. And the National Trust basically said that that is not what is actually happening. He argued that public money is, in fact, involved, and that the project is using government property and government infrastructure, and that the president is therefore violating the Appropriations Clause by building it without Congress. And Judge Leon's March 31st injunction agreed with enough of the argument to halt the above-ground construction. He wrote that national security is, quote, not a blank check to proceed with otherwise unlawful activity. And Judge Leon, by the way, was brought in under the Bush administration, so good for you, Judge Leon, good for you. And of course, the administration appealed, and the Federal Appeals Court let the construction continue for the moment, but scheduled a full argument on whether any of this is legal for June 5th, 2026. So that is the lawsuit, a constitutional question about whether the president can spend money this way without Congress. And it's scheduled to be heard on June 5th. And it was that letter from the DOJ on Sunday morning that demanded that it be dropped entirely. And let's take a closer look at that letter, okay? Because the more I look at it, the more one word kind of stands out to me. because the DOJ did not ask the National Trust to delay the lawsuit, right? They did not ask for more time. They did not ask for a temporary pause. They demanded a permanent dismissal. That means they want the case dropped forever with no ruling. And the reason they want it dropped completely is because if the appeals court rules on June 5th, even if they rule in the administration's favor, let's say, that creates a legal precedent. Because a ruling either validates the funding mechanism with some defined limits, or it strikes that mechanism down completely. But either way, the question gets answered in open court and on the record. And if there's one thing I know about a lying administration, is they don't want anything on the record. But the dismissal makes the lawsuit go away without any ruling on whether what the administration is doing is legal. And in that way, the constitutional question never gets answered, and the funding mechanism stays untested, and because it stays untested, it remains available for the next project and the one after that, used by this administration, the next, and the future administration of any party. And then this mechanism becomes the template that every future president can use without anyone ever testing whether it's actually constitutional. That is what a dismissal protects, not the construction, but the mechanism behind the construction. And
it also protects the construction as well. But she's right. She's absolutely right. That's what the lawsuit is all about. And that is why the push to build the ballroom. That is why he needs Congress to act. Okay. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a private briefing that went out to Congress with top secret classified information about the continuity of government, the security, the safety, how it's going to protect us from future threats, from the alien invasions, from China's AI tech, from their drones. Who fucking knows, right? But the risks are obvious and numerous. The attack vectors are many. There's going to be a lot of contractors coming in and out of this property, building things, putting things in there. You know? Takes a lot of hands and bodies to build a bunch of data centers and secret military bunkers and bases and shit. And no one's ever going to know what's going on down there. So do you trust this administration to take care of that project with all their Israeli buddies? That's the question here. Because a lot of really good journalists have been making an awful lot of noise for a long time about the techno-fascist digital mass surveillance thing that is coming. This is exactly what they've been talking about. This is exactly what they've been talking about. A gigantic data center system that unifies all of the government's different data sets into one aggregate data platform, that their super AI God thing, that is not God in any way, can query and tell them things about you, about your loved ones, about your patterns, your beliefs, your ideals, your movements, your bank, your everything. Or it can help them target brown people over there for bombing or whatever else they need to do. It can help Barron pick out his next insider trades, you know? AI is good at all sorts of things. But, you know, all of that, I can understand that technology must march forward, and it's inevitable that we're headed for techno-fascist hell one way or another. I don't agree, and I will fight it to my last breath. But I could die satisfied having fought that fight and failing if at least it was an American techno-fascism that got us. But I will not accept a foreign fucking government so obviously tricking us into a Israeli techno-fascist state. Because you know what comes with the Israeli version of the techno-fascist state? All their bullshit Jewish thought control. Let's just be real about it. Okay? All the anti-Semitism stuff. Okay, rewind. Let's remember some credentials here, like Douglas Murray. Have you ever even been on the top list of the 10 most dangerous anti-Semites in the world? Because I have. I am the 9th most dangerous anti-Semite in the world, according to the government of Israel. And let's be clear. If you get an Israeli techno-fascist global world order slithering in here to America, your boy is not going to be around anymore. I'm going straight to jail. For freedom of speech, obviously, for speeching. Because I actually do not hate Jewish people. I actually don't give a fuck. I hate people that kill children. I hate people that try to destroy freedom of speech. I hate people that lie incessantly. I hate people that abuse women. Those are the kinds of people that I hate. And so, I don't think I need to tell you about all of the thought crime bullshit that all of the Jewish organizations in America are constantly pushing. The ADL, the anti-Semitism website lady that runs the thing all on her own that's fucking unhinged, that are constantly, they're hosting seminars and conferences and fucking meetings and writing really annoying legal complaints. They're constantly complaining about Americans exercising their free speech, about how we don't really want to fund killing children and women in foreign countries, about how we aren't really down with supporting the government of Israel's free health care and their skin banks, whatever else they're doing over there. So just use your imagination to imagine a future where we have unfortunately slid into a techno-fascist future. And then imagine it's Jewish. And just think about how much fun that'll be. Right? And I don't mean because it's religiously Jewish. I mean because look at how they're behaving right now when they don't have control over you and everything. Look at what they're saying they want to do right now. Yeah. So, all the other concerns, very valid. All of Dre's much more balanced and much more reserved concerns, very valid. Super gangster. The whole conversation, very valid. My concern, I think, is much more. I'm not saying it's like a better concern. I'm just saying it's more urgent, more pressing. It's you cannot uncompromise your country in that way. So that is my concern. And it's not, one last time, I don't have evidence because no one has evidence. I just have a lot of correlation, a lot of suspicion. I have a pattern, and it's pretty easy to see when you look around. I'm sure that Matt Walsh won't see it. Lord help Matt Walsh. Poor man. I didn't mean to make Matt a running joke in this episode. That just kind of evolved. I'm sure he's a wonderful dude to hang out with. Anyways, I think that is good enough for our episode tonight. That is good enough to convey my concerns. I think you get the point. Right? And if that doesn't convey the point to you, if you don't know why we might be a little bit concerned about what's going on down there and about how there's no take-backsies, well, then maybe you should get a job at the Daily Wire. Because I don't really know how to make it any more plain what's going on out here. Thank you for being here. Thanks for tuning in. I've missed you all. I've missed talking to you. Researching, streaming, sharing, supporting. So before you go, like the video. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate having you. And let's just get one last thing out of the way here at the end. I should have done this like midway or at the start. I should have done this right around a hook, you know. If I was good at my job, you know, I would have done this earlier. But we'll do it now. We'll do it now. There's a lot of controversy about which foreign government is funding me, about whether the SPLC funds me or Qatar funds me. All these conspiracy theories. And I'm sure that all of you know that YouTube funds me. You've all seen, if you've been here for any amount of time, you've seen me turn down a bunch of money. You've seen me turn down ad deals. You've seen that I don't fucking run ad deals, that I despise it all. I despise all of that bullshit. And I don't keep track of it, but I can't really imagine how much I actually have turned down by just saying, fuck no. Like, no thanks. Everything from people offering to like pay for podcast, like paying tons of money to come on podcast, which is weird. It's like, no, why are you trying to pay me to be on a podcast? All the way up to like big brand deals and bullshit. Fuck all that. Lots of great brands too. There was a lot of great brands that I was thinking about maybe working with. And then I was like, no, I don't want to do that because it's just not, I don't need to. And I like to, I didn't get into this to do journalism. I didn't get into this to be like some fucking political figure. That is not my job. That's not what I do. And it's not what I want to do. I got into this because I wanted to know what the fuck was going on. And I know the best way to learn is to do a project. So this is a project that I'm continuously working on. And I also knew that teaching needed to change in America. And the thing about teaching is learning is teaching. It's all the same thing. And I had been working in teaching in regular classrooms. And I was like, teaching is happening online now. And it's just a big conversation. We're all just having a conversation online now. And no one's really, some people are, but most people aren't really confronting how important this online conversation is. It's not just like Matt Walsh arguing with like Michael Knowles on a podcast about like, oh my gosh, pineapple on pizza or not pineapple on pizza. That it's bigger than that. This is where young people look to understand the world. This is where men and women look to understand relationships. This is where our government looks to figure out if they're getting away with it or not. This is where our entire culture is now. We used to live in a world where like the Academy of Ideas, where the global shared truth of what is the world, what is America, what is Russia, those things were composed of like the magazines and the educational institutions and the television network and the government and the police force and all these, right? Now, all of that is on the internet. Kids aren't learning their culture in a school. They're not learning it from their pastor and priest. They're not learning it in their local bowling alley. They're not learning it hanging out with the kids behind the, wherever, smoking some pot when they're 17. They're not learning it in that way anymore. Young people are growing up into the global culture, which is made up of all of this shit on the internet, which is teaching. Teaching is just, what do you pay attention to and how does it influence you? That's all teaching is. Teachers are just a often overworked, underpaid attempt at trying to get kids to pay attention to something that's going to make them smarter, not retarded, right? And they've lost. Teachers are going to lose. They're just inherently, they're never going to win against the phone and the internet and the slop and the porn and the fucking bombs on the television and the streamers showing their video game. Teachers are never going to be able to compete with everything in this screen. Okay. And our young people are growing up looking at these screens all the fucking time. And so all of us that are in here having this conversation, and all of us that are in here looking at because remember, your attention is a part of the conversation. The fact that you guys are in here watching right now is a part of the conversation. Those views are a part of the metrics that make the whole ecosystem. Your posts, your comments, all of us are creators. We're all content. We are all a part of that conversation. And everyone's inputs collectively makes the globalized culture that we all live in. It makes the globalized culture that is teaching your children what the world is. And you don't have a whole lot of control over it. You can try to take their phones away and you can try to, curtail it. You can hold their hands while they look at it all and learn it all. You can give them self-esteem. I mean, to be fair, there's a shitload you can do and need to do to help your children understand this stuff. But ultimately, look around the internet. Look at the infantile nature of our conversation that we are collectively having as a people. Like Clavicular is like supposed to be the top streamer, although that's astroturfed as fuck, and he just did a deal that is going to destroy him. And we will probably make some content about that at some point here. Like the Manosphere creators, like the soft OnlyFans slop sphere of femininity that is so fucked up. Like the absolute brain rot that just is the vast majority of what's out here. We are not offering a super high quality online conversation. And at least theoretically, this online politics and influencer this sort of like conversation space that I try to be more a part of, theoretically, that should be where the adults are having like a thoughtful conversation. But realistically, when you actually look around the political space, oh boy, is it low and gross and just not. It's not that. It's not it. It's not intellectual and advanced most days from most of us. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of slinging shit on X too. But I don't really know why or how I got on this rant, but here's the point. I didn't start making content to be a journalist. That's not why I'm here. That's not what I do. I started making content because I realized that we are all making content all the time. And the absence of making content is also content. It's the absence of your voice in the collective conversation. And right now, the conversation is pretty fucking shitty. And right now, if I were raising children, I would not be too stoked on the state of the global online culture that is helping teach them what the world's all about. And so, I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I'm trying to figure out what is the world all about? What are we all doing? Because if you don't know the truth, good luck helping anyone else figure anything out. And then secondly, once you know the truth, how do you advocate for it? And how are you even sure you know the truth? And then, so what culture should we have online? What culture should we all foster? What conversations should we be having, right? We should be talking about Epstein, for sure. We should be talking about the ballroom. We should be talking about the Israeli influence in America. We should be talking about the genocide. We should be talking about all of that. But we should also be talking about relationships and culture and marriage and men and women and, we should be talking about intellectual concepts like that, about society. We should be talking about what's right and what's about how do we learn? How do we raise young people? What is wrong with our society? How do we fix our society? We should be talking about ideas that we disagree on. We should be, the pursuit of information and ideas and knowledge, the Academy of Ideas, right? Rocket science, we should be talking about these most complicated things. What is the human future? What's the future of humanity that we all want to get to? Because we're all on the way wherever we go. And wherever we go is the collective nature of our conversation. And right now it's what is the collective nature of our conversation? Not the collective nature of your feed, because you're probably based and you probably got a pretty cool feed, but look around. Look around at what most people are looking at what most music is out there, what most TV is, what slop and sports and gambling and porn and fucking bombs and all of it. Just like, what is going on, right? So the reason I'm here is because I want to understand what's going on and where are we going and how do we move that conversation towards a better future humanity. And I think that probably that doesn't come from knowing where we're going, because you don't know. I don't fucking know where we're going. I don't know what's best. I don't know what's right. None of us know what's right. If you think you know what's right, you should sit down and take a chill pill, because you're not that special and you're not that smart. But the conversation is what gets us there. Okay. I was about to go on another rant. I'll just say this. It's difficult, though, to have a good conversation when there's that one piece of shit in the room that's always screeching and whining and lying about everything. It's hard to have a good, rational, mature conversation when there's a pathological liar in the room. So, that's the end of my rant. Thank you for coming to it. I think we'll do a brief hangout on Kick at the end of this stream, which isn't going to have an outro, unfortunately, because the outro is broken. But, oh yeah, I got so distracted. So here's the point of that rant. It's not the point of the rant. I don't take any money. I'm just a dude. Like, I'm literally an Uber Eats driver that, I'm not really even an Uber Eats driver. What I am is a traveler, an adventurer. And I was an ultra marathon wilderness mountain guide that didn't want to go back into cooking. And so I got a gig economy job to pay the bills while I started working online to try to figure this shit out. And drove Uber Eats, figured this shit out, worked out pretty good, if I may say so myself. And fortunately, I don't have to take money from anybody, and I don't. But what I will do is tell you about my companies, which I think are the fucking shit. Because me and my boys built them to help all of you out. To help you have more information, to help you be more informed, to help democratize information or give you access to more truth or ability to understand this world. So in case you don't know, I am a member of the team that built Webb, the Webb.io, which is a tool that was born out of my desire to understand the Epstein files. And if you go to the Webb.io, it's got all these different data sets, like religious texts, like the FBI vaults, like the Epstein files, all sorts of things. And it's all interwoven and analyzable, and it spits out answers. And I mean, I'm sure you guys know about it. It's the shit. If you don't already, oh boy, I'll do some deep dives on it later. I'll show you. It's the bomb. If you want to support me, go sign up for Webb. That actually supports my team. That supports, we are 4. There's 4 of us. And we're just regular old humble humans that built this tool to try to make this inaccessible data accessible to all, transparent to all. So the Webb.io is a great way to support me if you want to support me. Because I turned off super chats because I don't fucking want your super chats. Screw your super chats. I'd rather have you support me in one of these ways. Like the Buyer app. The corporations are poisoning us. Megacorps are everywhere. They're masquerading as little miniature corps. They're masquerading as mom and pop shops. They're buying up the mom and pops and then pretending they're still mom and pops and then selling you slop poison. With Buyer, take your phone, scan a product, find out who owns it. Who are you really buying this from? Who's really making it? Is it actually a mom and pop shop? Is it a family-owned business? Is it a co-op? Or is it Kraft Heinz masquerading as Primal Kitchen, for example? Right? So vote with your dollar, decode the supermarket, and figure out who you're actually supporting with your money, because your money is a vote. You are supporting these corporations with your dollars. And if you don't know who you're buying from, you're being manipulated. So those are our two projects. Those are what my team has cooked up, and I fucking love them. They're legends. They're still cooking more in the background too, even though I took a break. They have not taken a break, and they're the best. And when you support Webb and support Buyer, you directly support my three homies that build it all. They're the ones taking the salary. And you also learn a lot. Webb is revolutionary. And I'll be doing some more streams with Webb in the future to crack it all wide open. So shout out to Webb. Shout out to Buyer. Go and download Buyer on the App Store right now. And go to theweb.io to sign up for all sorts of wickedness. Oh, you guys, man, I didn't know that you could still send stickers. YouTube's over here realizing they can send super stickers. And a homie just sent a super, super big, kind super sticker. Forgive me while I remember how to use my streaming software. Okay. That's it for the night. My brain is scrambly. I'm tired. I missed you all, though. I'm glad I can mostly still string together a cogent thought on camera. I don't know how regular the show will be in the coming weeks. I don't know how long it will take me to heal up and get better. I don't know much. I don't really know very much about the world. Okay. But I am well, and for all times, always, please remember that I've been through plenty of hard things in life, and I am very much mentally sound, and I would never do anything to harm myself. And anyone who is ever rumoring that or saying that is making shit up and lying. And if anything ever does happen to me, it is definitely not me. Okay. Very happy. Have a wonderful family that I love very much. Have a next generation growing up. Got a nephew. Got a dog that depends on me. Got a wonderful sibling. I ain't going anywhere. But that being said, I am working on healing, and I'm not going to disappear for a month again. The show is back, but I also don't know how regular it's going to be. So it's been wonderful to have you all. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for your support, your awesome comments. I see them. I know chat's not on screen, but I've been seeing it. I see you guys. I love you. You're the best. Thank you for being here. Thanks for liking the video and sharing it, and all of the support. And yeah, I will see you all on the next one. YouTube, peace, and Twitch, peace.